PowerPoint, this quick lesson is going to be what to expect when you take National Registry, and some pointers as to how to study, how to take the test. I want to teach you guys how to take the test and how to be successful at the test. You know the material. That's vital. You have a responsibility to know the material because you're going to be an EMT and lives are going to depend on it. But I also want to tell you how to take the test. Okay, so as an EMT, you're in a position of extraordinary public trust. Some of your patients will be in a very critical condition, and your actions may be the difference between life and death. Your patients do not have the luxury of getting a second opinion. Sometimes you could be in an area where you don't have cell service to call medical direction. You have to know your equipment, you have to know your job, and you have to know what's in your scope of practice. Always be a patient advocate, err on the side of safety and caution. The certification process exists for the protection of the public. This is your opportunity to demonstrate you have the knowledge and skills to be an entrusted, safe, and effective emergency care provider. That's why National Registry has this whole system for you to go through. That's why we're going to do practicals, and we're going to do, you guys are going to take what's called a CBT, computer-based test. Also known as a CAT now. All right. The computer adaptive test is a more fair and accurate evaluation. It provides rapid exam results and allows you to test where and when you want, and it increases the professionalism of EMS. Historically, when I took my EMT National Registry, it was on a written Scantron, okay? And it's subject to errors and so on and so forth. This computer-based test helps kind of reduce some of those errors. It makes it a more efficient and fair evaluation process. These are other certifications that use a computer-based test. So if you go for your, if you go to be an RN and you have to sit for your boards, like they call it, that's essentially you go to Pearson View, which is our local testing centers, and you're going to take a computer-based test. Computer-based testing is simply the use of a computer to deliver an examination. So you guys are going to sit in this really, I'd say it's not relatively, it's not too big, but I mean the one I had taken it in was about the size of this room. And it's got the dividers, and each station, each workstation has a computer. Okay, the two types of a CBT are linear, basically a computer version of paper and pencil. May include some randomization of questions and responses. Common in classroom testing, generally uses classical testing theory. What is a classical testing theory? Determining ability based on the assumption that the performance on a subject of the domain is generalizable. That's a good word, huh? To the entire domain. Sources of error, sample size, difficulty level of sample. An adaptive test presents the candidate with items that will be the most informative for the measuring ability. Each test is tailored to the individual candidate. So we take the National Registry, your test is going to measure you. And as you progress through your test, it's going to measure specifically to you and your progress. The adaptive CAT is an exam that is tailored again to the ability of the candidate. Each testing experience is unique and individual being tested. So what you'll hear from some people is, man, I got kicked off at 71 questions. And if you start Googling NREMT and start punching a number, it's been Googled. What does this mean? Okay. There's really, I've never found, me personally, somebody that's been 100% correct. I was kicked off my paramedic exam like 72 questions. I've had other people I work with took over 170 questions is what they claimed. You are going to be graded on no more than 150 questions. That is what National Registry will grade you on. Anything above that is what's called a beta question. And we're going to get into beta questions later. So don't freak out, because I've had some people come back and they're like, oh my goodness, I've taken 181 questions. Calm down. At least 31 of those were beta. At least at minimum. I think that's a pretty bad luck of the draw, but that's what they claim. So don't freak out if you get kicked off at 80 questions, 70 questions. 90, 120, just wait. The state of the art in high stakes testing and generally uses the response uses item response theory in the adaptive CAT. Okay, so what the National Registry is going to do is it's going to measure your ability. On the right side of the spectrum here, we have the dunce. That would be the low end of the spectrum. You don't want to be in that zone. Okay? And then on the opposite, on my side of the spectrum here, level 10, you have your really professional looking, knowledgeable fire EMT. Look at this guy. Doesn't he look amazing? Okay. So when National Registry is assessing your capabilities, it's gonna grade you on a slide scale essentially. National Registry starts the entry-level competency level at a level 7. Don't ask me why they didn't go from 1 to... They started at level 7. Okay? That's where National Registry says that you should be at entry-level competence at level 7. When National Registry is grading you, it's going to start you off like a level, I believe a level 6, and it'll identify it a little bit later, a level 6 question, okay? And that's going to be like a very easy question. What it's doing is assessing you. How well did you do that? So it might be an airway question, and they're going to be at random. You might get an airway, you might get an EMS operations, you might get a trauma, and it'll start you off level 6, okay? It's going to kind of test you. As you move up, the questions will get harder and harder and harder. And if you miss a question, it brings you back down. So your exam, again, will begin at a level 6, and as your questions move and progress, they're going to get harder and harder and harder. The idea is to stay at about a level 8. You'll have no idea what's a level 8, what's a level 7. Don't freak yourself out, man. These are getting easy, easy, easy. Okay? Let the computer do its work. Take the test to the best of your ability. Don't worry about everything else. You want to stay in this general, as the exam begins and you move along, you want to stay primarily, ideally, in that 8 range. What's passing for National Registry? 80%. Okay. When your evaluation begins, at this point the computer algorithm calculates an ability estimate for this individual candidate and target questions to be slightly harder and slightly easier than their ability. So as you move along, it's going to go slightly harder, slightly easier, slightly harder, slightly easier, and you're kind of rocking that 8 marker. Does that make sense to everybody so far? Candidate passes, we are at least 95% confident that the candidate's true ability is above the passing standard. So if you pass National Registry is 95% confident that the candidate's true ability is above the passing standard. An unsuccessful candidate will start off at their baseline and end up lower. Questions again may get a little harder and may get a little easier, but you're still in that lower threshold. So do you understand what I'm saying? Don't freak yourself out about, oh man, this was an airway question, it was pretty easy. Oh, this one was an airway question, it was pretty hard. And this one was another airway question, it was a little bit easier. You're going to psych yourself out. Okay? When is the test over? The computer determines with at least 95% certainty that the candidate's ability is either above or below the passing standard, or the candidate receives a maximum number of items, which is how many? 150, that you can be graded on. Or the candidate runs out of time. Every time the candidate answers a question, the computer re-estimates his or her ability. With every additional answer, the ability estimates gets more precise. So as you give the computer system more data, that ability for the computer to utilize that algorithm is going to become more precise. Does that make sense to everybody so far? So you may only have a certain number of questions in airway. You may get through, let's just say, 7. Okay, and all of a sudden you start your baseline threshold and you work your way up and you're hammering them out, and it says, okay, right here we're good. We're 95% confident at this rate that he's good on airway. We're going to move on to the next station. But again, they're random. So I'm sorry, that was not a correct statement. They're not going to move on to the next. They're just going to stop giving you airway questions at that point. Important concept. There is no minimum percentage of items correct to pass. Every candidate will be challenged to his or her limit and ability. So again, it's going to measure you individually. And it's going to push you until it says, okay, now we push their threshold, where are they at? The more fair and accurate evaluation, it's a more fair and accurate evaluation. Every candidate is measured against a predetermined competency level. The CAT combined with the IRT is the most precise method of evaluation. Examination is individualized according to the candidate's performance. Exam matches question difficulty to your candidate ability. Limited question exposure increases validity. Results. You're not going to walk out and know your test results. All it's going to tell you is as you're cycling through and the computer says, you know what, this person's stellar, because you're in this class, of course. And it's going to stop you. It's going to say, end of test. That's it. You walk out. And then the anxiety should kick in. So, all right. In most cases, exam results will be available the next business day on the National Registry EMT website. Other benefits of the CBT is increased testing flexibility. So if there's not one in Tucson, you could drive to Phoenix or all over. Enhanced exam security, so your student privacy is protected. You know that nobody can get in there and erase your Scantron because they don't like you. And it increased professionalism of the EMS providers. Pearson VUE Access is the world's largest assessment and testing business. It has an extensive network of testing centers, and they have extensive experience in delivering high-stakes computer-based tests. I'm going to run into this thing. So essentially what's going to happen at Pearson VUE, if you look, this is what you can kind of expect when you walk in. We're going to want to bring 2 forms of ID, and when you register for National Registry, make sure you follow the instructions clearly. Always bring a couple forms of ID with you. I would just leave your cell phone in your car. Don't even take it in, because they're going to have you empty all your pockets, put everything into a locker. You'll walk in, you'll check in, all right, and when you're ready, they're going to bring you back to a testing location. And they should give you either a piece of paper or a dry erase board. Did they give you a piece of paper, Jeff, or a dry erase board when you took yours?
Dry erase board with a marker.
Okay, so what we do with that dry erase board is a good recommendation. Again, these are all just recommendations. Any of these other paramedics or EMTs that have passed recently, please jump in, because I took mine a while ago. You guys have got a more recent experience with it. What a recommendation that was made to me was when you get that dry erase board, as soon as you sit down, you need to offload any material that you think you might forget. So in the case of EMTs, it could be your drug dosages for aspirin, nitro. That is your time while you're sitting in your car trying to cram real quick. Go. Okay, and then you walk in and you're reciting DCAP-ETLS, 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 OPQRST, OPQRST. Get in there and offload it. What I did personally on mine is I have test anxiety. So when I take a test, I start to get really worked up. And I have a bad habit of reading the question and not finishing the question, skipping right to an answer. Yeah? You guys all have that, right? Anybody have that? I have it. I have test anxiety. You guys have it? Okay. So what we want to do is we want to prevent that. So in the case when I took my paramedic exam, the only thing I wrote on that board was BLS before ALS. Because as a paramedic student, it's very easy to go into your national registry and go in there expecting to push lidocaine and dopamine on everything and forget to check airway. All right? For an EMT, always remember, scene safety PSI, ABCs, decap ETLS, maybe offload your dosages, whatever you personally feel that you have a hard time remembering or under pressure, those little sticklers that have gotten you throughout the class, offload that information right away, as soon as you sit down. Offload. Anything you think. At that point, I started the test. Alright, so this is what it's going to look like. Okay, here's your application fees. Guys, I apologize, I got this from, part of this PowerPoint is from National Registry, and part of it, we've added some stuff into it. So don't quote me on that, don't walk it. Make sure when you register for National Registry, you double check. Okay. When you walk into Pearson VUE, everything's going to be very secure. You're going to leave your cell phone, turn everything off. Alright. It's kind of like Fight Club. The first rule of Fight Club is we don't talk about Fight Club. So when you walk in there, it's kind of like a secret society. Totally different. It is a little intimidating though when you walk in there. As you step through those doors and they say, hey, what's your name? And you register, I need to see ID. And then we need you know, they kind of run you through it. It's almost like going through a TSA checkpoint. You empty all your pockets for them, you put them in the, ooh, this thing's really starting. Alright? Guys, calm down, take a deep breath. You have this, you will pass. We're going to skip through the application process. We'll go through that again more in detail when everybody's here.
We've done it.
You guys have done that? Okay, so scheduling an exam. Once you're authorized to test, you'll be contact Pearson VUE by phone or internet. Schedule your testing time. You're provided a variety of testing options. Day, evenings, weekends are available. You may check National Registry again the next business day for your results. Sometimes they're on there the next business day. I've heard people wait 24, 48 hours. Anybody wait longer than that?
On a weekend, if it's a Friday or Saturday, you'll wait till Monday.
Yeah, next business day. Okay. Anything? I happen to take it on like a Monday, and then at like 4 o'clock in the morning, I happen to get an email on my BlackBerry, like rate your testing experience at Pearson VUE. And I was like, oh, I'll just get on and check. Because my wife got done, she's like, stop checking. Just either way, you're going to work as a firefighter EMT or firefighter paramedic, you have a job. So I stopped checking, and then I got that email in the morning, like 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 or 5 in the morning, logged into Pearson VUE, I rate my testing, yeah, I'll just try National Registry, and it says, congratulations, you're a paramedic. And I was like, oh goodness, it's real, it's on. So,
one thing about the testing, Chief, that I would recommend is if you're a morning person, take in the morning. If you're more awake in the afternoon, you know, whatever. If you take in the afternoon, don't cram. You'll just intellectually exhaust yourself by the time you test.
Yeah.
Take that day easy, do stuff that relaxes you, put everything out of your mind, try and forget you're going to be testing that afternoon, because you'll just wear yourself out before you can get there. But if you're a morning person, take it in the morning.
Absolutely. You guys, all it should be on the way is maybe a little refresher. Somebody's driving with you, hey, okay, just light refreshers. If you don't know it by the morning of, then you don't know it. Okay? Don't stay up late the night before. Randall's got a great point. Don't be up late the night before to 4 in the morning trying to cram. Getting up at 6 to go take a test at 8. It's not healthy for you. Okay, we're gonna retesting if you're unsuccessful, which is anybody in this room going to be unsuccessful? I didn't think so. So we don't even need to worry about the 14 days later, right? Can you skip this slide?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's skip it. Day of the test, some stress management. The following steps can help you avoid stress on the examination day. Randall picked a good one there. All right, I'm not a morning person, so I would rather test in the afternoon. Maybe sleep in that morning, wake up. You know, if you want to go work out, have a good meal. Now, don't eat to the point till you're sleepy. Okay, but have something packed with protein. Know exactly how you will get to your test center ahead of time. Arrive early.
No stress.
Absolutely. Last thing you want to be doing is fighting traffic to get up into Tucson or Phoenix or wherever you got to go, and you're stressing out on the way there. Get there early. Sit down in the waiting room. Calm down.
if you happen to be in Tucson or wherever you're going to be testing, what I did just to get rid of the stress, because again, stress anxiety, is I went to the actual facility. I knew exactly where I was going to go. I had it down to where the freaking spot I was going to park. So I didn't want any stress, you know what I mean?
This is Randall's spot.
Hey, I passed, so.
That's all that matters, right?
If someone would have took his spot.
If somebody would have taken my spot, the wheels would have come off, but no. Like, just make it as stress-free as possible. Like, it's stressful enough as is, but make sure you got everything lined out that day. I can't stress that enough. Just make sure that day is chill. If you're going to take it in the morning, go up the night before, get a hotel, so you don't have to worry about your car breaking down, a flat tire. You know what I mean? Just plan it out.
The other is eat a protein-rich breakfast or lunch or whatever you decide to take, whenever you decide to take it. This can help you stay alert and avoid being distracted by hunger. If you have test anxiety, it's probably not a good idea to chug coffee or Monsters or energy drinks before you go in. So, don't be surprised if you see the same questions again. National Registry doesn't repeat questions on a single user's examination. Based on the CAT algorithm, however, you may see similar questions. You will not see the same exact, but you may see something similar. If you get a question similar to one that you think you have already seen, don't panic. Don't panic that you got the earlier question wrong. Just assume that you should change your response, and don't assume you should change your response either. You're like, oh, well, I already had something pretty similar to this. I picked B last time, I'm going to pick C this time. Just go, and we're going to kind of go through the, who likes to play, no, you guys don't gamble. Okay. So who likes to play odds games? Let's call it, instead of gambling, a game of odds. All right, numbers games. We're going to get into that later, okay? About how you have 4 answers. So you have a 1 in 4 chance of winning that lottery, right? By getting the right one. I'm going to show you how we're going to narrow that down to a 50-50 shot. Also, keep in mind National Registry is pilot testing new items, questions all the time. So we're going to talk about that. It's called beta questions. The way National Registry writes their questions is they have this committee of super smart people, much smarter than us firefighters, and they get together and they write and they're assigned questions for National Registry. So how many of you guys in class, when you took a test and you went back and you reviewed it, how many people saw a person in class? Well, according to page 289, section A, now
That was me.
okay, that was you.
That was me.
All right. So National Registry does not do that. They design their questions to ensure they're essentially bulletproof. So you can't come back and be like, wait a minute, I'm going to challenge them. You can try. Good luck. So, how beta questions are created. So this committee will get together and these groups form and they're assigned to write a question. And they'll write this question, and I'm paraphrasing a lot of this, but they're going to write this question and they're going to bring it back before the committee, and the committee's going to line up and shoot holes at it. Okay? And they're going to go back and try and rewrite that question or fix that question to make sure it's bulletproof. And they're going to come back again. And after a series of back and forth reviews, when finally everybody says, you know what, this question's bulletproof, we can't challenge it, it's right, there we go, they're going to put it out to schools or Pearson VUE testing centers for what they call beta testing. And it goes through a series of beta testing, a period of beta testing, and in order to make it on National Registry, my understanding is it has to have 80% of the students pass that question. If it's less than that, it gets thrown out. So they should be putting something on there that they're not sitting down with an evil cauldron of questions. Okay? The idea isn't to fail you. The idea is not for you to fail National Registry. The idea is to challenge you. To make sure you're a competent EMT or paramedic. So how big, I explained other tests, and again, so if you happen, and again, I've personally never had this happen, but I've heard people come back from National Registry at 181 questions. I don't hear that too often. That individual, I don't know how much truth there is to that because I'm not in the testing center to verify. I've heard people come back and say I had 153, I had 135, I get kicked off at 71. So there's no way of telling you the 71 questions. You could have had 2 beta questions in there. I didn't write National Registry. I'm just trying to decipher the test for you. If I wrote National Registry, I would not. I'd be voting something. All right, so let's gamble. All right. First thing we want to do is when we get the question in front of us, we want to read it very, very, very slowly. Again, raise your hand if you have test anxiety. So what do? We see questions and oh, I got it. Skipping right to the answer. Or how many of you guys read the question, you're going through and you're like, does A fit? Does A fit? You're trying to plug an answer into that question. Please don't do that. This is what worked for me. And ask some of these other people what worked for them. That's why I actually, I'm happy to see the engine crew down here. Because they all passed. What I did is I knew myself, and I knew I'd get test anxiety. So I took, and after I just wrote down on that thing BLS before ALS, or you offload whatever you feel the need to offload, I utilized that dry erase board, and every time I hit next, I covered the answers. Because I know if I don't, I'm going to start trying to plug something in there. I read the question slowly, and I read it again. Slow down. Do not, what is it, 3 hours? I believe, I can't remember. 3 hours a day?
I think it's like 2.5 or 3.
2.5?
It's a lot.
A couple days.
No,
A couple days. You might be there. Pack a lunch. Oh. Now, guys, I apologize. I don't have that. I can't recall. I can't remember if it was 2.5 hours, but you're out a long time. Slow down. Shouldn't be in a hurry to get out of there. But also don't sit there and critique yourself over and over and over. And once you answer, there's no going back and changing it. So take your time. Cover up the answers if that's what's going to work for you. And then what I did is when I read the question, I read it, and then the first thing I did is I slide down. Answer A. Answer B. Answer C. Answer D. All right. The way National Registry is going to be written is there's going to be 4 multiple choice answers. You will not see answers that that include all of the above, none of the above. Go.
There you go. You will.
Multiple choice or A and D. You know how like on your test you might get both A and B? You will not see that. There'll be 4 separate answers. Has anybody actually seen anything that said none of the, yeah, it's not on there. I just want to make sure I haven't rewritten something in the past couple of years. But, okay, 2 of those questions are wrong. I'm sorry, correction, 2 of those answers, pardon me. 2 of those answers are wrong.
It's 70 to 120 questions, or 2 hours, whatever one.
70 to 120. Is that
70
average?
To 120.
70 to 120. Is that
Yeah.
average?
That's a maximum, the minimum and maximum questions.
Okay.
And the 2-hour time frame is your maximum time limit, so 2 hours.
Okay, so you have 2 hours to do it. So they changed it from the 150 down to 120 now?
Yeah, 70
Okay.
to 120.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. So you have a minimum of 70 questions and a maximum of 120. All right, so again, 2 of those answers are wrong. Identify the 2 that are wrong. And 2 of them are going to be right. You have to pick the most right. So if you sit there and you look at all those answers, you have a 1 in 4 shot. You have a 25% chance of passing that question, right? Don't we want to increase our odds? So at this point, it becomes a numbers game. Intermixing your knowledge base with a numbers game. You look through the answers. That's wrong. That one could work. I'm going to hold on to that guy. Next one, wrong. Next one, that might work too. Now let me look at these 2 answers. Which one's the most right? Little things may get you. Scene, if it gives you, and I'm using examples, okay, but you arrive on scene of a 76-year-old female, difficult to severe, difficulty breathing, retractions, her O2 sat 76, blood pressures, and then what's the first thing you do?
safety.
A, yeah, you know, it might ask you, A, apply oxygen 15 liters by non-rebreather. B, assess scene safety number of patients, request ALS, and apply oxygen 15 liters per minute. C, start an IV in her forehead. D,
Applying.
Criker.
Yeah.
All right, well, we know which
Tourniquet.
1, 2 are wrong. Which one's the most right? B. And I'm not saying you're going to see it specifically in that manner, but that's what you need to remember when you're taking it, is everything on your National Registry skill sheets. Okay, we're not, you know, motorcycle down, what's the first thing you do? If the answer is determine number of patients prior to doing your actual physical triage, what are we going to do first? A's and ands may get you. Watch your A's and ands. A or ands is what I'm saying, A and D. A or and. Your ors, keep an eye on that one.
Nevers and always.
Yep, nevers and always is a big one, good point. Watch those.
And then another one is first,
Yeah, that's a good point.
because it'd be perfectly right, but they'll be in different order.
Yep. What do you do first?
What do you do first?
And that's what I'm saying, that's what I'm saying with go down, remember your skill sheets.
It's a code. I mean, it's deciphering another language. It's testing language. And FISDAP helps you. They're worded a little bit differently, but those code words, the always, the nevers, the first, if you stick by that, and being familiar with that will also help you, calm down and able to focus on the question.
Absolutely. So, what you guys could do is some recommendations. If anybody else has them, please jump in. But I would recommend at this point is you guys are preparing for your final exam, correct? Or you're already taking it?
No.
Okay. So you guys are preparing for your final exam. Okay. What else you need to start doing right now is memorizing your skill sheets. If you need to, break them down section by section. All right. Big things for, what are your big hitters? Well, we don't want to forget, out of history taken on medical, there's 8 points there. Don't miss anything, Big things too, memorize your critical fail points. Make sure you don't do that. Do you guys understand how your skills stations are, how your skills testing day is going to occur? Because I talked about this the other day at the station and kind of got a look of, oh my goodness. Would you like me to cover it again? Okay. What's going to occur is you guys are going to come in, you guys already see who has what. You guys are going to go ahead and, as far as where the stations are going to be located at, where you're going to report to. Okay. What you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and, there's that odd station. What you're going to do is you're going to come in and you're going to have your piece of paper and you'll be waiting. And a proctor will come out and get you. Say, okay, Camden, you're going to patient assessment and management, medical station. You're walking with a blank piece of paper. There'll be a proctor sitting there. There's going to be a patient, moulaged up or whatever we need to do. And you may have some silent partners. There may or may not be some equipment on the table. Nitro, pen lights, stuff like that. And you'll have unlimited resources. You could call in the world. Everybody's on standby waiting for your one chest pain call. All right, you could have airplanes as transport vehicles, helicopters, ships, whatever you want, okay? You can have unlimited ghost partners. What's going to happen is you're going to come in, we're going to explain to you the station. Hi, Camden, welcome to, this is your medical assessment station, this is what we're going to expect you to do. Do you have any questions? No, okay. I'm going to go ahead and begin. You're dispatched at 1408 hours on a BLS ambulance with an 81-year-old female, difficulty, and we're going to go through everything. Do you have any further questions? No. You have unlimited silent partners, you have equipment over here if need be. And at that point, we don't say anything else. My job as a program director is to walk around and make sure that people are not giving you hints and cheating you. So we'll be walking around and there's going to be no looks, or are you sure that's all you're going to do? Or there's going to be nothing. Okay?
Do you need vitals?
Yeah. Do you what? Yeah. If you need further information, that's a good point. If you ask them for additional vitals, they'll spit vitals out to you. They will answer you back and forth at that. If you have questions about the patient condition or an ETA, hey, am I closer to the level 1 or am I closer to the level 3 hospital? They can answer that stuff, but they can give you no pointers or feedback whatsoever on your sheet. If you hit a critical fail, this is no joke, you are done. They will not stop you, they will not tell you. They will keep your paper, the program director will come by and will check them, and when you're all done testing, I'll pull you aside and tell you whether or not you passed your practical skills. If you did not pass, I'll tell you which station you failed. That's it. I can tell you what you failed in it. I'll just tell you you failed. You failed medical or trauma, or whatever it may be, C-spine, whatever our randoms are. So that's all you're going to know. And at that point, you're going to have to find another test, another location and time when people are doing practicals, and go to some department with some random people. Okay? So understand, break this thing down bit by bit. Know your critical fail points and avoid them. Know your big ticket items. So right here, assesses airway and breathing. Each one of those, the assessment ensures adequate ventilation and initiates proper oxygen therapy. That's 3 points right there. Make sure you hit all of those. Do you guys have any questions on skills? Okay. All right, again, any questions on the National Registry on the written? Oh, again, it's a numbers game. Calm down, read your questions slowly, check each answer, find the most right answer. All right, you guys are going to do phenomenal. I wish you all the best of luck, and I will see you on the 16th. All right, have fun.